Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds.
Hi, this is Dr. Roselle with Harvesting Wisdom, and I'm super excited because we have another great guest from the City of Phoenix. We have Karen Apple. Karen, what do you do for the City of Phoenix?
So I'm the Electric Vehicle Program Manager in the Office of Sustainability. It's a fairly new position. I've been in it for 5 years.
You know, it's exciting because the more I learn about the City of Phoenix, the more I learn that they really are embracing sustainability. So, you say this is a relatively new position. Are you the first person in that role?
Yes.
Okay. So when I think about the City of Phoenix, I know that they have a lot of sustainability issues. When you and I first met on Google Hangout, you had a partner on there as well as two. Kind of talk to me about the groups that you work with and the overall mission of your program.
Yeah, let me talk about the mission first. So as most of probably your viewers and you know, we've got really bad air quality here. Mm-hmm. American Lung Association gives us an F. Last time I was in school, that's not a passing grade.
It's not good.
Right. So we've got to do something to clean up this air and improve it because we've got a lot of folks here with respiratory conditions, so it's very not beneficial to have this kind of air, and we've got to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. So EVs are just one mitigation measure, electric vehicles are just one mitigation measure to try to improve our air quality. So that's kind of the why we structured. The mayor and city council are very committed to improving our communities and the environment, and I know Mayor Gallego wants us to be the most sustainable desert city on the planet, so we are working hard to achieve that. So some of my missions are, I tell people I've got about 6 pillars that I stand for. The first one, and these are in no rank order, I am responsible for deploying EV charging for the public and for our employees. One of the departments I work with is Public Works, who is over the fleet. So they usually manage the EV fleet charging, but if I need to be their academic advisor, I'm happy to get people to speak to them. So that's one department I work with. So deploying chargers. Number 2 is working with our planning department, another department, on EV-ready building codes. So I'm so happy to report that on June 18th, the City of Phoenix went through their whole new building code adoption for 2024, and the planning department recommended Appendix NE of the International Residential Code, and that appendix said all new single-family homes, new in the City of Phoenix, have to have either EV capable, which is basically empty conduit, EV ready, which is conduit with wiring, or the third level, EV charger install. So it's great. I'm pretty sure the developers will choose maybe the lowest cost on that, but super excited. It's our first EV ready building code. Next up, we'll start working on multifamily and commercial. So that's working with the planning department. I'm starting to dip my toe just a bit working with community and economic development, because that's where they do apprenticeships and internships. A part of community and economic development, work on workforce. And workforce is not my big forte, but what I can help with is we're going to be seeing a lot of gaps in electricians, car technicians, electric vehicle repairs, charger repairs, charger manufacturing jobs. So trying to get a stakeholder group together to talk with our CED folks and how can we help Gateway Community College, GCU, or some of our community colleges stand up curriculum to help close that gap, because we're going to see a lot more EVs and chargers out on the market. Another thing that I work with is EV equity. It's very important to our department. It's very important to the mayor and council. So we have gone out in the past, 23, 24, we held 16 community meetings in some of our low-income disadvantaged area. Alhambra, Sunny Slope, Estrella, Laveen, North Phoenix, East Phoenix, Sunny Slope, Maryville. I think I got them all. The first 8 meetings they were listening sessions. How do you move about your community? Where do you go? What kinds of transportation do you take? Just listening and then offering up some potential solutions. Our next round, phase 2 of our 8 meetings, we went back to those communities with the follow-up. Here's what we heard, here's what we're going to start working on. So, and I always try to let people know it's not always about a car. It's not always about an electric car. There are other electric options out there for people, such as light rail, all electric. SkyTrain at Sky Harbor, all electric. Electric bicycles. So some of the equity programs that we have been exploring are electric rideshare, so electric Ubers and Lyfts, and how we can maybe get those to some of our disadvantaged neighborhoods. Electric car shares, where a community car sits in a community, that you check it out like a book, bring it back. And then we could extend our e-bike and e-scooter boundary. We already have that program, but we could extend it out to other areas. And the last pillar is, to me, one of the most important, is education and outreach. And we do that by having our ride and drives, EV webinars, Facebook pages, social media, web pages on where we can get the information out and dispel some of these EV myths, and always be reminding folks of the benefits of driving electric. And I did want to put in a quick plug for one of our in-person events. So October 4th at Gateway Community College on Washington and 40th Street, we're having a big ride and drive with about 25 different electric vehicles. You can come out, no pressure, no sales folks are going to pressure into trying to sell you a car. We want you to come out and try it. We're going to be there from 8 to noon on October 4th at Gateway Community College. Would love to see some of your listeners and to come join us at the ride and drive.
Well, honestly, you've brought up a lot, and one of the first things that I want to mention, as far as EV vehicles as a mitigation strategy, it's funny because when I've traveled to different cities, one of the cities I went to was Venice, and their issue isn't air quality, it's flooding. Mm-hmm. So they actually invented or installed through community investment these teeth that come up so it dams water from coming in order to preserve. And when I talked to the gentleman that ran that, he said, honestly, we have to preserve that resource or this resource is gone, it's worthless. Right. So looking at the city of Phoenix, I know that, talking with my dad, he said this used to be a location where people would come to if they had respiratory problems. So a lot of people might not think of clean air or clean water as a resource, but it is.
It is.
And if we don't have clean air, we don't have a sustainable future.
Right.
So the fact that we have this mitigation strategy with electric cars is great. But you brought such a great, you really explained it very well. When you think of electric cars, as an individual, I bought a Tesla, I went home, bought a charger, I'm good. It's different for a city. You brought up a lot of great issues and challenges that people face. Some houses that were built that are older might not have the capability and they might not support it. We just talked to the CEO from Valley Metro, and she said with the electric rails and buses, sometimes you have to think about capacity, and there might not be enough capacity to run that vehicle. So the actual systematic change, the investment that you have to go through is great. And I love the fact, especially here that we're in Laveen, being somebody that's worked in Laveen for a long time, what I've heard over and over again is sometimes resources aren't distributed equally. So the fact that your department is looking into making sure there's equal access. But you said something that is great as well too, and it's something sometimes when people think about sustainability that doesn't come through. The city of Phoenix has a lot of electric options. It's not just the electric vehicles. So one of the things that I want to ask you before we go further is I know that we're sitting in a bakery right now, and I know that that Maisha is very excited about having charging stations here. What are some of the benefits for a business to offer those services?
That's a great question, and I've told Maisha I would try to help her get a charger here. So it's first attraction. It's great if you've got folks that come here and need a quick charge, if she's got a level 2. Most of the time, chargers are great when people are there for more than an hour because they get more charged that way. But it helps with attraction of business, folks come into your business, you're doing the right thing for the community. You might have a neighbor that doesn't have a way to charge. Maybe they can charge at your business during the night when your business is not there. But it's mostly to me about attraction and providing a service and providing an amenity to some of your patrons that come visit you. And so I know I get asked a lot of times, like, how can we go about getting a charger? Maisha says, how can I go about getting a charger? And one of the first things you want to do is call an electrician, or call, if you're in the SRP or the APS territory, they've got a list of electricians that you can use and contact, and have them come out and check your electrical panel. So if Maisha were to put a level 2 here, that's just one port, that would be a 40 amp breaker. So her panel at a minimum has to have enough space for a 40 amp breaker. Then so once the electrician says yes or no, then you're going to start talking a little bit about cost, because if she has to upgrade her panel, that's going to be a cost. It could be, $500 to $1,000 to upgrade your panel. Just depends on what you need. Then if her panel is all the way in the back of her business here, she's going to have to run conduit all the way to the front, if the front is where she wants the charger for her patrons. So I always tell people length matters, because the longer the run, the more expensive it's going to be. So once you get a cost, and if she can direct bore under her parking lot, or if she needs to trench, then you might have costs to repair your asphalt parking lot. Excuse me. And then the piece of equipment's the cheapest thing, the most low cost. It could be $500 for the level 2 charger. You can buy it on SRP Marketplace or APS Marketplace or Amazon for that matter. So I got a level 2 charger put in at my home, and it cost $2,500. I also have a flat roof, and so they had to string it along my flat roof, because of course my garage was not on the side of my electrical panel. But
oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. I do have a question. Okay,
Yeah.
So when it comes to installing a charging, I'm thinking, I used to have a Tesla, now I have a Lightning, but whenever I charge in public, I have to pay.
yes.
So is that something to where the business incurs the cost, or do you go through a third vendor? How does that charging work?
That's a great question, and it just depends, because if Maisha just wanted to offer free charging to her patrons, you just get a non-network charger, which is kind of like a dumb phone. If we all remember those flip phones, that's a dumb phone. And there's no way to instigate a fee for folks that are charging on one of those non-networked. It's just dumb, you can't get data out of it, and so that charging would be free to her patrons. Now, if she wanted to set a charge fee, she would work with a Blink or a Charge Point or a Flow or another third-party vendor, and then if she buys the equipment, then she can set the charge fee. So maybe she says, you know what, I'm a good neighbor, I'm going to charge 10 cents, because I definitely want her to recoup her electric bill.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine she'd be getting a lot of charging at first, but at home I think I charge $30 extra a month. So I would say to her, let's set it at a fee that at least recoups your $30 for electric charges, and then she'll have an agreement with that third-party vendor that she gets some portion of the revenue by charging a fee to her customers.
And I know that Maisha and I have talked about some of the statistics we looked at. One of them was that 80% of consumers, they want to be associated, or they seek out green brands. So I guess the question for you, and maybe this is something that's kind of off in left field, but what are your recommendations for using that as part of a brand of a business? We've talked about it through our chamber where we're encouraging our businesses to work with the city of Phoenix, get labeled as a green business, and this could be part of it. But how do they communicate that? How do they use it as an asset to let people know this is something we value and care about?
Again, great question, and I often think about that because I've not been so focused on businesses. I'm still focusing on the public, but we want you to get some kind of a credit or some kind of acknowledgement that you're a green business. So we'll have to look into more on our green business program and see if we can maybe initiate, if it's not already, to do some kind of acknowledgement for businesses that have these kind of sustainability measures. You know, it could be a sticker in the window so that, oh, I didn't know this was green. Oh, I saw it in the window.
You know what, I have this is, I know you drive a Tesla, so I think this is going to resonate with you. I have a great idea. It would be great if you could almost have an app to show the green network.
That's a great idea.
Because then they could draw it to the businesses. So a great way to get acknowledgement, and as far as a consumer, if I'm looking for a business and I see, oh my gosh, Red Velvet Bakery has a charging unit, I could go there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it'd be easy to put in rates and everything else. So that could be a recommendation.
No, that's great. And I think about it from like apartment buildings, right? So a lot of folks that live in an apartment they lack the access to charge. So we're looking at that and we're going to try to rectify that in the future. Just start exploring it and figuring out ways that we can help those folks. But if I already had an EV, so I have a brand new supervisor at work. She's our brand new chief sustainability officer. She just moved here. She drives a Mustang Mach-E, and she had to get an apartment until her family can come up here. And so she definitely looked at apartments that had EV charging. That was a must for her. And it's starting to be a big selling point for apartments if they have charging stations there. Because what's my incentive to buy an EV if I'm in an apartment and I can't charge it and my workplace doesn't have charging?
And I guess that's my next question. I know that businesses like Red Velvet Bakery can create charge stations. Are you starting to see a trend, or is there a program or an incentive for businesses to have charge stations? I know as part of our nonprofit at Urban Farming Education, we partner with Agave. We have lightning charging stations, which is great. I don't use it very much. In the back, we have the ones for the trucks, and we have Tesla charging stations for employees. Is that something you're seeing as far as a trend for?
I am starting to see some of that. And I'm going to talk about two topics here. So 80% of the folks charge at home that have EVs, but there's, again, 20% that can't charge at home because they lack the access. And we're really focusing on workplace charging, and that's where businesses can also install charging for their employees, not just the public, but their employees, because we Phoenix have a glut of solar during the day. California pays us to take their solar.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So right now, what we're hearing from our utilities is charge at night when the grid's at lower capacity and there's not so many people on the grid. So I plug in and I start charging at 11. But sometime in the future, our utilities are going to start trying to change our behaviors, and they want us to start charging from 10 to 3. I can't do that if I'm at work because I'm not at home to charge. So more workplace folks and businesses need workplace charging for employees so that we can get in the habit of using that electricity during the daytime hours. It's totally different behavior, but we are seeing businesses starting to put them in, again, for the public and some of their employees, and if they have an electric vehicle fleet, it could be a fleet charger as well. Sometimes these chargers can do triple duties. I can set it to charge a customer a fee, I can have it be free for my fleet, and I could have it be no cost for my employees. So you can really get great efficiencies if you are able to set your rates.
You know, and what I wanted to dive into a little bit more, I'll be honest, when I first got my Tesla, it was back in 2021. I remember I took a short pause because I thought, oh, I live in the northwest part of the valley. There wasn't a lot of charging stations, so we just jumped in and got a charging station at home.
Yeah.
As far as your equity strategy, what specifically are you looking at? I hear looking at businesses, looking at apartment complexes. What are the options for equity? Because I think it's important, and I think if there's areas where there's fewer charging stations available, it would be a deterrent. So
Right.
What does that look like for a resident?
Yeah, and again, I always tell folks it's not always about a car. So a lot of times in our low or income disadvantaged folks, they may not have a driver's license. They may just be trying to put food and clothes on their family and feed their family. So they may not have money to buy a used EV. But certainly we need more EV chargers so that it's apparent we have them. But that's where those other programs come in. The EV car shares, the EV ride shares, the extensions of the e-bike and e-scooter boundaries. Because if they don't have access to a car, or they can't drive, or maybe they don't have a way to pay for a charger because they don't have a credit card, or they're unbanked or underbanked, then we're looking at other kinds of programs to provide access to these kinds of communities.
You know, and honestly, it's funny because we just had Jessica from Valley Metro come in, and she said something that resonated with me. I have a sister-in-law that hasn't owned a car in years. And it's something it seems like the younger generation are just opting out of.
Yeah.
So it's not just a low income, it seems like there are certain segments of people that just don't want to own a car anymore.
Right.
So the fact that we have that sustainable option is really good. As far as education and outreach, as far as changing habits, what does that look like for your department? How are you engaging the community, and what is the focus that you're trying to teach people?
Well, first and foremost, it's just letting them know about the benefits of EVs. Because as an EV owner yourself, sometimes we hear these things like, oh, they're just like a golf cart. Yeah. And they're not.
No.
Or, they just plod along, they don't.
Oh, no.
So, and, it's, their range anxiety is real. Let me not say, it is real, but one of the ways that we're going to try to get folks over that hump is to let them know that there are chargers out there, and there's probably more than they realize that are out there. Because when you don't drive electric, you're not really looking for
Yeah,
them.
but I've had this argument a lot, and what I tell them is, look, how often do you drive 300 miles in a day? Well, what about when you take road trips? I said, look, I've never bought a car for road trips, ever.
Right.
I'm buying it for other reasons. So I shifted from a Tesla to a Ford Lightning because I needed to tow my pop-up. And you and I talked about it before. There's so many different options out there that really, to me, that's exciting. And I guess that is a question as far as networks. When you look at equity, I know that different cars have, some of the makers have different charging capabilities, and then there's also the speed issue.
Yes.
I know that it's something that I'm becoming savvy with. I'm looking for certain speeds when I go for the charge. Does that be taken into account with equity?
We haven't really looked at that. We've mostly just been looking at putting level 2s in some of our communities.
Okay.
So I'm really proud of the fact that we have built out all of our libraries. So if you go to any City of Phoenix library, and I believe we have 16,
Wow.
they are all equipped with, at a minimum, one port.
Wow.
I've got a library that just has one port, but then most of them have a dual port charger. And Burton Bar, our flagship headquarter library, has 4 chargers. And we would be recommending more chargers for certainly Burton Bar. And we've got chargers in our parks. Not every park, but a number of parks, maybe 20 parks.
Okay, so I got to stop you there.
Yeah.
This is exciting. I didn't know that either. Is there a map or is there an app where I can look to find all the public charging within the City of Phoenix?
Yes, thank you for asking. So I often tell people there are 2 apps that I recommend. One of them is PlugShare. You can download it on your phone, and it will give you all of the public chargers, if it's being used at the time, what's the charge fee, what's the charge rate, how many plugs, are they inoperable, if somebody posted a comment about that charger. And then another one is, this one can also be used for road trips, is a better route planner. So I believe it shows you the chargers, and there's some, as you know, as a Tesla owner, there's some vehicles out there that show you where the chargers are at. So I can pull it up in the Tesla and it shows me all the Tesla superchargers, which is great. But there are apps. PlugShare is one of them, and if you pulled it up, you're going to see a lot of chargers that you didn't realize were out there.
How does the City of Phoenix public charge ports, how do they compare to, like, because I know that some are really expensive. How do they compare to the other proprietary chargers that are out there?
Yeah, so I just went through this exercise last week. So we, our public chargers, Blink is our third-party vendor who we have a contract with. We have 84 ports on the Blink system. And again, those are libraries, parks, community centers, Children's Museum, Phoenix Theater, 305 West Washington Public Garage, convention centers have chargers. And because of our contract with Blink, Blink sets the charge fee.
Okay.
If I would have bought all of that equipment, I could have set the charge fee. But this is an issue is when you don't have all that capital outlay to buy all of those chargers, you're kind of at a deficit, so you have to go with a different kind of business model. So because we had to go with a different business model, Blink sets the charge fee. And our charge fees are anywhere from 44 cents a kilowatt hour to 83 cents a kilowatt hour, which I just had a conversation with Blink that 83 is getting up to DC fast charger fee. So it's too high. And I asked them, I'm like, why are all of these charge fees varying across my communities? And Blink uses a third-party vendor called Stable.
That's a great question. I'm absolutely intrigued.
It's a third-party vendor, and I apologize, the name's not coming to me, but it's like Stable Auto. And it's just like when you go to a gas station and you see $3.59 on that corner and you see $3.89 over on that corner. So this third-party vendor looks at the price of charging, and that's how they set it.
Oh, they use dynamic pricing, it sounds
Yes.
like. Okay,
Yeah.
that's very, because I'm obviously curious about that too, because when you look at the apps, they're different. I didn't make that connection until you just said it. That's really interesting. What other solutions could there, are you exploring any other solutions? Like I could see if businesses like Maisha's for Red Velvet Bakery or other businesses, they offer it and you create a business network. I truly believe competition is a great thing. So maybe that's something to look into the future where all public charging through businesses, if they offer a more competitive pricing, that could be an option.
Yeah, and maybe it's a bulk purchase agreement where if Maisha's got 5 other folks here, you know, they could all go in on a bundle deal with charging and get less charger equipment costs. And then of course your costs are going to vary on your construction and installment costs.
So you said something that blows me. I did not know that a business can set their own charging fee. That is fascinating.
If they purchase that equipment.
Wow.
And that's how it is with Blink. I'm assuming that's how it is with ChargePoint.
Wow.
It's a different business model. So again, if we would have had the financial and the funding opportunity to buy all of our equipment, we could be setting our own charge rate, and I can guarantee you it wouldn't be 44 cents.
And honestly, what the City of Phoenix did is not necessarily a bad thing. Your priority is equity and access, so you had to find the path that fit within the budget constraints.
Right.
I think that's a great thing, but I like the idea maybe of moving forward, giving businesses the opportunity to attract clients to and share their brand, but also then be competitive with the other charge points in the community. Because I may be wrong. My wife pays the bills, so I might. But if you charge at home in off-peak hours, it's like 14 cents a kilowatt hour.
7 cents.
7 cents. Okay, so
I'm
it's
on
a lot
SRP
cheaper.
and it's 7 cents at night.
Okay, so yeah, I totally forgot. So it's much cheaper.
Yes. And let me share, I know you asked a question earlier about incentives. So our utility companies, I'm in SRP territory, and unfortunately, APS doesn't have as many incentives as what SRP offers. But if you're in the SRP territory, they will rebate you back $1,000 for a business. We get the municipalities and nonprofits get $4,000
Oh,
per
wow.
port. So if she were to put a dual port in, she would get $2,000 from SRP if she were in SRP territory.
But she's in APS. Are you APS or SRP?
SRP.
Yeah.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah. So she could go to SRP. She could buy a charger, submit the paperwork, and they would, if she got a dual port, she would get $2,000
Okay, so
back.
crazy question. Say Maisha hypothetically partners with a nonprofit that wants to use that as a revenue or a social enterprise. Could a nonprofit come in and partner with Maisha to get the charge point and get the $4,000 rebate and use it as a social enterprise where she gets the benefit of charging and they share some of the profit,
Yeah.
but then the nonprofit could share if it's part of their sustainability mission?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I don't know that I have the answer. That to me would be an SRP question. Of course, SRP is in the mission to get more chargers out because SRP has a goal of 1 million EVs in their service territory by
Oh, wow.
2035. 1 million. So they're trying to support the influx that is coming. So that would definitely be a great question to ask SRP.
Because the $4,000 rebate for the nonprofit would almost cover the cost of the equipment.
Pretty close.
And then if they could share with the profits with the brick and mortar, that could be a great fundraiser for a nonprofit.
Yeah, what I can do is get Maisha and myself on a call with SRP and just run it up the flagpole and see what they say.
Yeah, because urban farming education has a sustainability mission, and we all drive electrics. That's something that would be a great social enterprise where the cost is next to nothing. It could support our mission and support businesses at the same time.
Right.
So I'm absolutely intrigued by the answer. I really want to know.
Yeah,
So
I'll find you an answer.
that's great. Where do you see, what other initiatives, where do you see your department going forward in the future?
Well, back in 2021, the mayor stood up an EV ad hoc committee. It was chaired by the then Councilwoman Ansari, and we met for a year. And the ad hoc stakeholder group helped us develop the Transportation Electrification Action Plan. Let's just call it the roadmap or the TEEP. And what it did was it set out lots of objectives and goals that the city would start initiating, like the building code. We have a goal of 200 EVs in our fleet by 2030. Right now we have 99. So I have confidence that we're not only going to meet that goal, but most likely exceed it. We also have a goal of 500 chargers on city-owned property by 2030. Right now, I'm sitting at about 416.
Wow.
Now that includes public, fleet, and employee, so all together. So we put this transportation electrification plan together. Mayor and council approved it in June of 22. We're 3 years down the road. So one of the things I would like to start initiating is a refresh or an update to the TEEP, because we've met a lot of goals and objectives in our TEEP. So it's time to refresh those. And now that I have 5 years under my belt, I definitely have a different perspective and just more knowledge to bring to potential goals moving forward. So we're going to have to vet those, and hopefully we can start to regroup and get another committee together or whatever it would take to update that TEEP. So it was a great first attempt. We did, we did the best that we had with the folks that were around the tables. It was policymakers, some equity folks, some OEMs were around the table, had the folks from ASU there. So we had a variety of folks in the space that could help us come and develop that TEEP.
That's fantastic. It really gives me a lot of encouragement that this isn't a temporary plan or just a snap flash. You guys have long-range vision and planning for the implementation of not only encouraging people to get EVs, but the structure in place and there's equal access. So before I sign off, I want to give the opportunity. You've got a big event coming up, right?
We do.
Tell us about the event.
Yeah, so we have these big ride and drives where we've partnered with Valley of the Sun Electric Vehicle Association. And what they are is they're a nonprofit, they're EV advocates, and they've got lots of members that volunteer their cars and volunteer their times to come and help us conduct these ride and drives. So we have 2 big ones a year. We have one on Earth Day. The last Earth Day, we had one down at South Mountain Community College. Happened to be Easter weekend, so our participation was a little off. But our next one is helping to support National Drive Electric Month. So it's October 1st. It will be at Gateway Community College on 40th Street in Washington from 8 to noon. Again, the Valley of the Sun EVA brings all of the cars. So what happens is, let's say you want to drive a Rivian, just because you just want to go have fun, right? You just want to check it out. So you sign up to drive the Rivian, you get a time, and then when your time comes, you get in the driver's seat, because to me it's all about butts in seats. We got to get folks in there so that they get the experience. And then the owner rides in the passenger seat. And then it's about a 3-mile rectangle right turn only route. So then you leave in the Rivian, you go out on baseline, you make a right somewhere down, then you come back across and you come right back to the college. So you're in the car maybe 10 minutes or so, but the driver is there. And who better to tell you about that Rivian than the actual owner?
Oh, yeah.
So we haven't done the best job of surveying after the event, but I know we've also had an employee ride and drive, and I know we activated one employee. She went out and bought a Mustang Mach-E. I know I've activated another gentleman. He went out and bought an Ioniq 5. So I don't know our total activation rate, but it's got to be doing some good.
Well, and honestly, I never would have considered buying a Tesla but my colleague had one, and then when I went to go purchase one, my wife said the same thing you did. It's like a golf cart; they go super slow. I'm like, no, they absolutely not. So that's super exciting. Well, I really appreciate you being here today, and I'm looking forward to finding out if Maisha and I can partner together as nonprofit and business owner to help promote and support and maybe possibly fund some projects like the community garden that we're trying to put in the back. So I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll get you some answers.
All right, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.